Hi everyone and welcome back to the Bods. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You join me today for a review of another Bricklink designer program set 910002, Studgate. Now some quick particulars about the set. It's got 4,062 pieces. It retailed for £300 in the UK and $340 US. There are 23 bags in total. They're split over 3 boxes. You will find some of every number bag in all of the boxes, it would seem. It wasn't organised in any way, so you do need to get it all out at once. Comes on a 48x48 base plate. I don't think I've ever seen a Lego set with a 48x48 base plate before. So the build is split into quite clear sections, and I'm going to go through the set in those sections just so that I don't miss any key points. So we're going to start off with the trains. There are 2 trains in this set, or you could just have a double-ended train, one single one. But because obviously there's 2 train lines, it makes sense to have them on separate tracks. The trains are pretty basic. There's some nice technique on the front of the train, sort of to get that diagonal line. Some stickers on there to give that train sign detail. And the inside of the train has got seats all the way through the middle, just a single seat, not very well thought out in the middle. And Ian specifically does not like the trains, and the top panel comes off for access. There are no doors on the outside, and the problem with the top panel coming off is that it's one long panel. It's not very stable, so you lose parts of it as you try and take it off. And then trying to get it back on is nigh on impossible. It just doesn't seem to want to connect. It doesn't line up very well because it's such a long top to it. There is a small amount of detail at the front of the train, like a little lever, so drive it backwards and forwards, I'm guessing. But let's be honest, we didn't buy this set for the trains. Those are definitely not the bit to write home about. So let's move on to the main entrance. So there's quite a lot of tiling detail in the main entrance, and then you build up the platform as well. Then over the top of the main entrance there is like a little veranda as well, which you have stairs to get up to. There's newspapers up there, a little bit of seating area. And it's all on sort of the lamppost poles. You build that entire roof part in one, and then you have to attach it on, and trying to line it all up with those lamppost poles is kind of impossible. And because of the base plate being quite flexible, a lot of the time those poles come undone, and that connection isn't a very strong one. But it's quite a nice entrance. You've got the little steps up, the 2 pot plants either side. The lampposts at the top are very irritating. They do not stay in place. They just don't look straight at any point. There isn't a ticket office at the train station, but there is a ticket machine. You've got a couple of rubbish bins as well on either platform. I find that a little bit strange because I'm used to not seeing rubbish bins at train stations. So after you've built that one side, you then build the tracks and the other side of the thing, as well as the staircase that connects the 2. It's a very similar setup on the other side of the platform. And I should mention that the platforms themselves do lift up and down. I think if you've got a wider train, that helps to accommodate those. I will show you it with the trains at the end. All the different trains that we've got in our city we'll test to see if it fits. The staircases themselves are quite ornate. You've got bars connecting for sort of railings so that people don't plummet to their death as they walk across. And those bars, the connection is just enough. There's not much tolerance if you put the bar too far one way, it then doesn't connect to the clip. So if they'd used a slightly longer bar, that would have worked better, but I don't know if that piece exists. You do also have another staircase upwards, which will be for the roof level, which is what we build next. So the upper level is open to the elements. There's no roof on this at all. I don't know how realistic that is. I don't know if there's many train stations where the lounge area and things is just out in the open, but it does add a little element of playability to the set. My daughter was playing with this. That was the main part that she can access. The rest of it is very hard to get your hands in. So on that upper level you've got 2 lounge areas with sort of tables. You've got a hot dog stand, and then you've got a couple of points where you've got binoculars, so it's maybe quite a good viewpoint out and over the city. Now we come on to the roof glass, and you build these panels out of like garage pieces, and it looks good, and the panels go together quite nicely. They seem quite sturdy. They put a lot of thought into connecting them up, and as you go it tells you to connect each panel to each other at the bottom, not at the top. And I have no idea why they ask you to do that, because attaching these roof panels, once they are 4 panels wide and all connected, is nigh on impossible. Whilst Ian was doing it, there was a lot of huffing and puffing coming from his side of the desk. He was really struggling to get those in. And then, of course, once you put one side in, so he used the edge of the table, laid the upper level flat and then attached it with 2 hands, and he did that by himself. By the time we got to the second side of the roof, that option wasn't available anymore because you can't lay it flat at that point. So he held that side. He was pushing against from his side as I was trying to push the panels in. And again, we just did it panel by panel and then added the connections back in after that. The whole thing then clips into the 2 platforms. There's not many points where it actually attaches in. I didn't get involved in that because Ian said it was too fragile and just stand back, so it seemed quite a tricky thing to do, but nothing broke. He did get them all lined up eventually, and it's pretty sturdy. I would not pick it up by the roof though, so I definitely recommend 2 people to try and get those roof panels attached. The last thing you build is the dome on the top, and that was not a pleasant experience actually. I think that was the thing that really ruined this build. The last thing being super fiddly. You've got a chandelier that hangs down, and lining any of that up and trying to get the pieces on without popping other pieces off and making it look pretty at the end, kind of impossible. The dome doesn't actually attach, it just sort of rests on the top. And it does look nice, but knowing how frustrating it was to put together, I don't know if it was worth it. There must have been a better way to do it. Ian was suggesting that actually you could make the chandelier attached to like some cross beams in that hole, and therefore you wouldn't be connecting it all the way from the very top of the dome all the way down, because that added some stress trying to manoeuvre it in. So next up I'm going to show you the minifigs. So when it comes to minifigures, there's 11 in this set. The first 5 are workers at the station, so you've got 2 with the orange jackets on, the guy with the flag, I can't remember what he's called, he waves off the train, the cleaner, he's found on the platform cleaning up, and then the hot dog worker as well. All of the minifigs are sort of mid-bag on this build. You kind of build them just as you're about to place them, so you kind of know where they go. There's not too many alternative faces. Quite a lot of them have got hats on, so there's no space for the alternative face to be covered up. The next 5 are passengers. You've got the adventurer guy with his backpack, lady with a ticket. Only 2 of them have tickets, it would seem. I like to think that the 4th one along is kind of like a celebrity. He's trying to hide with the big collar and the glasses and the hat. And then the little guy with the guitar on his back, actually that doesn't fit with his hairpiece. The guitar will not stick properly, so it's a little fragile. And again, not many of the alternate faces. It just seems to be like the ladies that have got the alternate face. The 11th minifig is the one that's in the wheelchair. Our wheelchair came with a bent wheel, so I'll need to get that replaced. The other thing is that there are 4 minifigures that share a face, so there's 2 of one print and 2 of another. A little lazy, but actually because the female face has got a double-sidedness, it's not too big an issue. And that is one of the things that I would say is quite good from these minifigs, is that they haven't gone with the gender stereotypes of torsos and things. So some of the torsos would be traditionally classed as the male ones. They don't have that cinching in at the waist, and those are on female characters. So it's all mixed and matched. And some of the hair pieces, I would say, oh, that's normally used on the Chinese dad, and here it's used on a female character. So they are just blending the characters together, and I think that's a really nice thing to see, because it is all just Lego. With the inclusion of a wheelchair user, I was wondering how they got from one side of the station to the other, and then I spotted the little ramp and then the sort of bit that goes across the tracks. I don't think that's the safest way to cross. A lift would have been better, but obviously that was beyond the abilities of this set, so at least they've thought about how she can get across. Unfortunately, the pieces they've used have studs sticking up, and that actually blocks the trains from getting out, so you will need to remove those if you do plan on attaching this to track in your city. So one thing that we could have maybe done to make this a more pleasant experience is to build it on a Mills plate. I know I've seen several people do that. The problem we had was that we didn't want to Mills plate the track. That would raise the track in the rest of our city, and we just couldn't be doing with that. So we're thinking about maybe raising just the platform levels, still having the track recessed back straight down on the base plate, but Mills plating the other 2 parts of it. Hopefully that would make those connections to the lamppost bits on the veranda over the main entrance slightly more secure, because you're pushing down onto a firm base and it's not got the wobble to it. Let's take a quick look at the trains we have in our city and how they fit with Studgate. So we've got 2 trains in there. This is the Emerald Knight on this side. It's highly modified to sort of work with a motor, and in our city you can't tell it's the Emerald Knight. In fact, the main part of it is actually over here, off to the side. But Ian tells me that this actually fits perfectly fine, so that's good. Whereas the Disney train it's got that big funnel on the top. So right now this does fit, but that is because we've had to modify it because the track was actually one stud across down here, and it hit the curve of that arch. So we've taken out this bit in the middle and moved the track over. Now what that does means that you can't use the point system, but actually this track was quite close together already and you couldn't use the point system because of that anyway. So we were quite positive that it would mean we wouldn't have to modify this and we wouldn't have to raise this up to get that to work. But actually we've realised that our Lego City, the train track is up a plate. And so in doing that, raising this a plate to make the train tracks work, we will now hit that arch under there. So we're going to have to Mills plate this part and this part to make it work. But if you don't have that issue, then just moving the tracks closer together will allow you to get the Disney train in. And obviously this works already with the trains that come with the set. So is Studgate worth the price? It's quite a hefty price tag, but it is a really grand looking station. It's going to be the focal point of our city, so I'm really happy to have it. I think the build looks beautiful. The experience of building it wasn't too bad, just a couple of those issues that I've already mentioned with the stability and just the order of doing some of the steps. But I actually did enjoy this build a lot more than I have other Bricklink designer ones. So we're going to get it into our city as soon as we can. Come back for the next city update and you should see it in there. Leave me a comment below on what you think of Studgate and whether you think it's worth the money. Also, if you want to see other Bricklink designer program sets reviews, then I can link those up at the end. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an update. See you later.